the board on the table and everybody introduce themselves.
Mary Beal, Executive Assistant to the General Manager.
Dorothy Wozniak, General Manager.
This one.
Richard Miller, Director, Tower 1.
Wayne Weston, Director, Tower 3.
Rich Delafuente, Director at Large.
Justin Mack, Director at Large.
Richard Vasquez, Director for Tower 3. Joe Purcell, Director.
Mike? Okay, the first order of the business is approval of open meeting minutes of April 6, 2017.
I make a motion to approve the open board minutes for April 6, 2017.
Who is second? All in favor? Okay, unanimously. Oh, Mike? Mike?
I agree, yeah, I vote
Yes.
yes.
Good evening, Galaxy residents. I'm pleased to announce that the Board of Directors and the management team have been working very closely in addressing various issues that would enhance the lifestyle of the residents and increase the value of the property, that also improve the front desk services and procedures followed. During the past month, we have identified deficiencies in the front desk staff appearances, behavior, and procedures. In addition to the staff's training and retraining, the new technology being implemented will increase the level of efficiency and quality of the service that our residents expect and deserve. Details of various improvements can be found in the weekly update, which we encourage for all residents to read. I would also like to emphasize the community input and involvement is welcome and appreciated. Residents are encouraged to join the various committees. In addition, we encourage residents to attend various social events. The Galaxy Intercultural Club invites you to world-class music as Rabil and Khalil, do I pronounce it correctly? Pizzatolin perform famous arias, Italian and Neapolitan songs accompanied by classical and jazz pianist Michael Roman. The summer season is upon us and preparation for the 4th of July celebration is underway. Please join your neighbors and friends in the soft lawn of the indoor pool on July 4th and enjoy a variety of great food, drinks, and fun. Okay, the controller report. Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marissa Foley, and I will be presenting the financial report this evening. As of April 30th, 2017, the total cash in the depository account was approximately $481,000. The balance in the R&R account was about $5.35 million. The escrow account had a balance of about $1.6 million, and the available cash as of April 30th was approximately $6 million. This represents a decrease of available cash of approximately $818,000 compared to March 30th, 2017. This decrease is attributed to large payments which were made towards the R&R projects such as your boilers and the hallway project. I will now speak about the accounts receivable as of April 30th, 2017. The total accounts receivable from homeowners as of April 30th is approximately $3.3 million. Out of the $3.3 million, there are $3.2 million in legal, $29,700 in payment plans, $26,300 with 1 month past due, $1,300 with 2 months past due, and $418 over 60 days. We had approximately $344,000 of payments made through the Condo Cafe online payment portal. I will now speak about your accounts payable. The total accounts payable as of April 30th, 2017 was $548,000, which includes all invoices posted as of April 30th and the known accruals. This is a decrease of approximately $375,000 compared to March 30th, 2017. Legal invoices account for approximately $16,600, and R&R invoices account for approximately $122,000. The breakdown of accounts payable consists of invoices 0 to 30 days old of approximately $419,000, invoices 31 to 60 days old of $21,500, invoices 61 to 90 days old of approximately $29,900, and invoices over 90 days old of approximately $77,000. As of May 15, 2017, there were 649 owner occupants and 426 absentee owners. Of the 426 owner units, 382 are occupied by tenants. Units occupied by tenants represent approximately 35% of the total Galaxy units. The monthly package for March is available on Condo Cafe, and the monthly package for April will be available next week. This concludes the financial report.
Thank you. Directors, any question for the controller? No question, we move to management.
Good evening, Madam President, directors of the board, and Galaxy community.
I apologize, technical problems.
Good evening, Madam President, directors of the board, and Galaxy community. It is my pleasure to provide the management report during my first month as a new general manager. At approximately 7 p.m. Monday, May 15th, a small fire ignited inside one of the dumpsters located at the Tower 3 service level as a result of the lit cigarettes discarded from a window or balcony of the property. For everyone's safety and for the safety of the property, residents are reminded not to discard cigarettes or any other items from windows or balconies. The hallway redecorating project continues on schedule with 71 floors completed so far. The project is on target for final completion in November of this year. At this point, contractors have almost completed all of the upper floors and represent approximately 47% of overall project. Custom interior signage will follow soon. Samples for the 16th floor are being fabricated and will be displayed for the board and residents to see. This process will allow for any changes to be made before the signage plan goes into full production. The garage reconstruction project is slightly behind schedule by about 3 weeks and will likely be suspended for another week until the abandoned material from the original contractor is removed and out of the way. On May 4th, the Hudson County Sheriff held a successful auction, and transfer of title to the equipment and material is expected to take place formally next week, at which time it will be removed by the successful bidder. We have been guided by our attorneys in this matter and have been in touch with the new owner, who has made arrangements to remove everything in one day as soon as the necessary paperwork is filed by the county. Once removed, the overhead work will quickly be completed and the surface traffic calming can begin. This has been a long road, but I trust the community will be pleased with the finished product. I thought it would be interesting to show some of the work that is happening actually behind the scenes. And I know that we don't usually go to the boilers room, but as you know, the boiler replacement project is in progress. So this project was kicked off in March and is progressing on schedule with final equipment approvals and material orders placed in April. This project will replace the 2 steam boilers, the heat exchangers throughout the property, and all related equipment. Together, these systems deliver heat to common areas, hot water for apartments, and heat for the pools. Okay. And slide 3 and 4 actually represents your equipment, and on the left you can see one of your older boilers that has just been removed. During the past month, samples of the insulation surrounding the boiler exhaust system, known as breaching, were taken and tested for asbestos. Fortunately, none was found, and the contractor was immediately able to begin dismantling the first of the 2 boilers to be replaced. Boiler number 2, which you've seen on the previous picture on the left-hand side. Immediately begin dismantling of the first 2 boilers was actually just dismantled. They wasted no time dismantling and removing it in under 4 days. The new boiler began to arrive in pieces the next day, as there is no practical way to get a 500 horsepower boiler through a 36-inch door and down a flight of steps. The new boilers must be built on site. Each piece is lowered into the room with a chain hoist placed into position and welded together. The smallest cylinder at the bottom within the larger vessel is the furnace. After leaving the furnace, the fire passes through 2 sets of multiple fire tubes, making a total of 3 passes through the water to efficiently produce steam before exiting through the breeching at the upper rear of the boiler being fabricated. And as you can see, this is an example of the fire tube across the door section being assembled. The first boiler will be completed and in operation in July, just 2 months from now. Here's what it will look when it's fully assembled, brand new, and also blue, which matches your logo. The second in September, and all heat exchangers, new piping, insulation, and supporting equipment in place for project close out in October of this year. The maintenance team has been working on spring cleanup and getting the tennis courts ready for play. Additionally, the maintenance staff was repairing and painting the pool deck to be ready for the opening day. The team has been very busy doing planned maintenance, inspections, and maintenance of all exhaust fans. Planned maintenance were completed, which entails visual inspections, changing air filters, greasing in tower 2, 3, and for 6 air handlers in total. Okay, the 3 atrium, unfortunately, we have to report that the 3 atrium windows panels were damaged due to a recent vandalism. Now likely have been replaced. Unfortunately, the cost of the replacement was $12,990. The accounting department will be issuing new decals to all residents with active parking decals. This new decal is larger and displays the vehicle's license plate information. This will enable security to fully identify the vehicle information and quickly identify an individual who might be violating the GTCA parking policies. We thank the community in advance for the cooperation in providing the accounting department with any updated information requested in order to issue the new decals. Recently, in effort to recognize the employees that go above and beyond or for providing extra assistance to a resident in need, we have included a new section in the weekly update called Employee Spotlight. The first was featured in last Friday's weekly update. While on her short personal break, concierge Katrina Gonzalez, known as Carrie, assisted a resident who had been injured in the mall. Without thinking twice, Carrie demonstrated going above and beyond with her sincere concern and care for the resident, missing out on her well-deserved break without hesitation. Our sincere thanks go out to Carrie for a job well done. Residents are welcome to send in their observation about any staff member that goes above and beyond and deserves a recognition. Management has prepared 4 recommendations for your consideration and approval this evening. Parking garage ADA compliance is the first one. The first is a recommendation to reallocate Galaxy Reserve parking throughout the garage in order to establish 24 ADA compliant parking spaces as follows. Place ADA parking spaces closest to the building entrances as required by federal regulations. To accomplish this, approximately 29 long-standing reserved spaces will be displaced to other areas. Allocate reserved spaces on each garage level to provide a prorated number of the 150 reserved spaces apportioned to each floor of the garage based on the total number of available spaces on each floor. And you can actually see on the picture how they will be allocated on every floor. Assign reserved spaces to contiguous designated areas on each floor. Provide existing reserve space users with choice of designated reserve spaces based on seniority and length of reserved parking term. The current New Jersey Barrier-Free Subcode and the American with Disabilities Act require that private entities remove barriers that are non-compliant. Even if business owners are not planning any type of construction, they are still obligated to remove barriers that are readily achievable. The Galaxy Garage currently has 1,169 total parking spaces, with 25 designated for handicap parking. However, none are compliant with current regulations regarding size and locations. Based on the size of the Galaxy Garage, a minimum of 22 accessible spaces are required. At this direction of the board, staff has identified 24 locations for accessible spaces on floor 16 through 11. So as to make it convenient for drivers to park in accessible spaces upon entering the garage from the main garage entrance on J.F. Kennedy Boulevard. To accomplish this, approximately 29 reserved parking spaces will be displaced. For the convenience of all residents, parking in non-reserved spaces, staff recommends a reallocation of all reserved parking to provide an equitable apportionment of reserved spaces on each floor based on the total number of available spaces on the floors. Floors with more available spaces would therefore have a greater percentage of the 150 reserved spaces authorized for the garage in total. And that's actually reflected in the picture. So as you can see, also for your convenience, we try to designate the new spaces in the same exact location on every floor. Okay. So the second recommendation that management has is the existing pool furniture is nearing the end of its serviceable life. The chairs and lounges require replacement of broken straps from drying, the frequency of which increases each year. The metal frames are dented and chipped with faded paint. For serviceability and improved comfort and appearance, staff recommends replacement with aluminum frame chairs with stretched nylon slings. Furniture selections came in variety of 43 fabric and 23 frame color options. Sample furniture was obtained for the decision process, and three bids were obtained. The lowest bid was received from Horizon Casual, and at the cost of $31,611.25. Staff recommends a rate of contract to Horizon Casual of Ocala, Florida for purchase of new outdoor pool furniture to include lounge chairs, dining chairs, and dining tables. Final color selections for fabric and frames to be determined by the board. And as some of you might have already seen, the furniture has been displayed poolside and available for you to view. The third recommendation is a discontinuation of electrical services. Staff recommends the association establish a policy for the discontinuation of electrical service to units owned by unit owners delinquent in paying any portion of the common expenses. Suspension of services is a critical tool in arrears collection, and electrical service to the apartment units is a common service paid through common monthly maintenance assessment. As part of a pilot program in the latter part of 2016, electrical service was disconnected in 10 absentee owner units in arrears, which were abandoned or otherwise vacated. Service was ultimately restored to 5 of those units when the owners either paid the balance or agreed to payment plans. As a result of that initiative, approximately $25,000 was recovered in cumulative arrears, and regular monthly maintenance payments have resumed on those units. The administrative resolution number 45 before you this evening will finalize this practice and establish a strict protocol of discontinuance of electrical service to occupied and owner-occupied apartments which do not pay the share of the community common and maintenance expenses. new natural gas contract is the third recommendation. During the 3-year period between 2012 and January 15, the association was purchasing natural gas at cost of 71 cents per therm. In February 2015, the association authorized Premier Energy Auctions, now known as Transparent Energy, a Fairfield, New Jersey energy broker, to solicit bids from natural gas suppliers on its behalf for the award a contract for the purchase of natural gas to the lowest responsible bidders. Bids were solicited through a use of an online auction platform, which resulted in a low bid of 48.6 cents per term, which was a 32% rate reduction. The resulting contract with Direct Energy, LLC of Delaware, delivered a net cost savings of $130,000 per year. The contract will now expire in November 2017. In anticipation of the contract expiration, and in light of a recent upward trend in natural gas prices, Premier Energy Auctions, known as Transparent Energy, was again engaged to solicit proposals from natural gas suppliers on GTCA's behalf. 11 suppliers were solicited for offers to enter contracts for all-inclusive supply of natural gas for contract terms from 24 months to 48. The most advantageous term to ensure budget certainty and the lowest risk is a 48-month contract term. 7 bidders responded with offers for 48-month contracts. The bids range from 58 cents per term to 48.2 cents per term for 48-month contracts. The lowest bidder was Direct Energy. Premier Energy Auctions recommends award of a contract to Direct Energy at all-inclusive fixed price of 48.2 cents per term for a 48-month period beginning in December 2017 and ending in 2021. To summarize, our recommendation to the board would be to sign a long-term agreement at the rate that is below the current contracted price. This would secure the budget for the next 3-4 years for this commodity and guarantee there would be no increase in supply price for that time period. We are currently well below the 10-year price average and coming off 17-year lows in the market during 2016. The opportunity to obtain a lower price in the future does not outweigh the upside risk that could occur during the same time period. Okay. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, B.O.D. Directors, any question for B.O.D.? Okay.
I'm sorry. That's okay. There was just mention of the replacement of the atrium windows, and I remember previously in the other management report, there was a number that was said that there was a $15,000 atrium replacement. My question is this the final number, or is this an additional replacement of atrium windows?
It's a final number. We
Yeah,
only had an estimate at first, and it's the final number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you certainly covered, Dorothy, you certainly covered a lot, and I have a lot of questions, but we'll see what I can get done with. We were just talking about spa and spa windows. I asked somebody working in the spa which windows were replaced. I looked up, they're very clear. However, I looked up and it's very clear there's hand and fingerprints on the glass. Probably before you started, but when work like this is done, somebody should be there when the job is finished to okay it. Now, maybe not everybody would notice it, but I looked up and there's the handprints all over the glass.
Okay. Thank you for that comment. I would like to respond by saying that I agree with you. Having said that, this is a very high traffic area and people open windows, people touch windows. And we actually are in process of doing a major cleanup and improvement in the spa. Maybe you have already had a chance to see that some of the plants were trimmed, yellow leaves were pulled out, and your blue boards are now straight and look much better than they used to. So in order to increase actually and enhance the look of the community, as Sohaila said, one of the initiatives that the management is taking and already implemented is conducting a daily walks of the community, of the property, making property notes and addressing various deficiencies with proper department heads. So I agree with you and will definitely take proper steps to address the concern.
This was all the way up on top where I think the rocks were thrown through the window, so it was replaced. I don't know how anyone's gonna get up there. It has nothing to do with what's down below. All these things you described is all well and good. And it's very good, and the property is missing all these things. But I just happened to notice that one thing.
I will look into it personally tomorrow, and if I can reach it, I'll use Windex to clean it.
All the way. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Dorothy, thank you very much for your report. That was very informative. It's really nice to be able to see the boilers, and it's a great feat. It looks beautiful. I just wanted to get a timeline. You said September, the second one?
No, we predict that the project will be completed by October of this year.
October,
Correct.
totally
But the
new,
first,
with
yeah.
the heat exchangers, new plumbing.
Right, that is correct, Justin. Actually, the first boiler that is being assembled right now, as of this moment, should be in service in July. And obviously, the installation of the second one will start. So we hope that the project will be completed on time, which is October of this year.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to make sure the homeowners realize that basically that makes our hot water. That without those boilers, we wouldn't be able to take a hot shower. They haven't never been replaced before. This is a major feat for the galaxy. It adds value to everyone's home all at the same time. I think that the board is doing a great job putting together these projects on budget, on time. We're doing a great job. I want to thank everybody.
Well, thank you. And it's a massive project. That's why we decided actually to show you pictures of the actual removal and installation and what it entails, because we are talking about a massive piece of equipment. And I also would like to take this opportunity to apologize to the community for the recent hot water loss, service termination. Unfortunately, things like this are happening often with boiler replacement. So once we are notified of the service termination, our maintenance team is right on top of it and trying to save your boiler number 1, which unfortunately will stay in service until boiler number 2 is put into service. So I apologize for that, but we're doing the best we can to.
First time in 5 years I took a cold shower.
Thank you very much, Rudy. The next item in the next order of the business is election of board officers, which previously it was under new business, which was wrong, and in the revised agenda is under unfinished business. So now election of the board officers. The first officer will be the president of the board. Do I have any candidate for the president of the board? I would like to, so I made nominate someone. I would like to nominate Wade Besson for the president of the board. I worked with Wade before he joins the board. He was working in the committee, and he was very dedicated, hard worker, never missed any meeting. He was a team player. I enjoyed working with him. When he joined the board, I was thrilled that he decided to join the board. The same quality I observed when he was a board member, and I'm sure that he's going to make a wonderful democratic leader for the board of directors.
I second.
Okay, thank you. But you need to second it. So, any other candidate? Nomination? No more nomination?
I'd like to say something else. We're
Okay.
going to vote on it, right?
Yeah, let's.
You told us, yeah?
Yeah, they have to vote the discussion on that. Okay,
Talk with one candidate. Comments.
can we,
Are we going to vote?
okay, go ahead and make your comment.
I've also known Wade. I worked with him on the whole A committee. It's been my honor to work with somebody as professional, someone who's educated, someone who understands professional standards, somebody who does things on time, and somebody who's open to reason. We've had disagreements, and they were always rendered to some kind of reasonable dialogue and positive outcome. So I support him highly.
Okay, any other nomination? So since there is no other nomination, I take a vote for Wade to be the president of GTCA. People vote for it. Mike?
I vote aye.
Okay, so unanimously was approved. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you. President of the board, would you like to continue?
I'll yield the floor until we finish the election.
Okay, sure. I'm going to say, Mr. President. The next officer would be the vice president of the board. Any nomination?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Sohaila Kobler. She's done an incredible amount of work for the Galaxy over the past few years. Her dedication, I don't think I've seen many people do that much work for no pay. I've seen people do less work for more pay, but I don't think I've seen anybody do any more work for a voluntary position. So I also feel that we could work together, and between her strengths and mine, I think we would work well together.
Thank you, Wade. Any other nomination?
I second.
All right. No, any nomination, more nomination? No. So let's take a vote for it. Mike?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Unanimously passed. The third officer would be the secretary of the board. Any nomination?
Justin Mack. I think he's done a great job.
Okay. Any more nomination?
That's a secretary, not treasurer, right?
Oh, sorry, yes, secretary, yes. Then the treasurer.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, by the way, there is no need to second this motion.
Second nomination.
The nomination. All right. So now we take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstention? Oppose? Abstention? All right. So that's it. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Justin. The fourth officer is treasurer of the board. Any nomination?
Nominate Joe Christopher.
I second.
Second.
Third.
Okay, great. I'm sure. I can't say there's no other nomination, but in any event, I'm going to ask.
8 seconds.
He has done such a great work that any other nomination? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor? Mike?
Aye.
All right, unanimously.
I'd like to say, Joe, you're doing a wonderful job, and one day, hopefully in the long future, you won't be treasurer. But until then, I hope you keep up the great work. You're doing a fantastic job, and the whole Galaxy owes you a bit of gratitude for everything that you do. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. I pass the floor to our new president, Wade.
So first of all, thank you guys. It's an opportunity and a huge challenge. It's a lot of work and a lot of time, but I welcome it and I look forward to it. I would just say there's a couple things that I want to try to encourage, and is to reopen the dialogue between the owners and the board. And as I dig in and I get a little bit more of where we're at currently and where we need to be, we'll definitely be seeking input from the community about their priorities and set our own priorities and plan those out. So I don't want to take this as any kind of political thing, so I'll move on. I just want to say thank you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I'll do my very best to make sure I do a good job. Yes.
I'm going to make a motion to, this is a ratification of a prior vote in closed session Motion to award a contract to Direct Energy LLC of Delaware for the supply of natural gas to the Galaxy Towers for the 48-month period beginning December 2017 and ending November 30th, 2021 at an all-inclusive fixed price of .481579 per therm. Based on the GTCA's current usage of natural gas at 600,000 therms per year, the estimated annual value of this contract is $289,200, or $1,156,800 for 48 months life of the contract.
Is there a second? Joe seconds. Is there any discussion? Oh, and I'm sorry. We do have someone here, Louis, to speak to you about the contract. So I think this is the perfect time to ask him to address how we came about the contract, what the process was, how many people we saw, how we, a little bit of background of where we were before we got to this contract and where we are now and what that we need.
Sure. Hi everybody, Lou Blank, Transparent Energy, nice to see everybody. 2 years ago, 24 months ago, when I was introduced to the Galaxy was paying north of 70 cents per therm for your energy, your natural gas. Through our reverse auction platform and soliciting bids from multiple suppliers, we were able to get that down to about 48.5 cents, which is, for being in PSE&G as a utility, if you look at their historical pricing, the 10-year average is above 65 cents, and about the 5-year average is above 55 cents. So we're well below those averages, and it reduced your cost drastically over the past 2 years. This time around, the market has been up about 36% from the last time that we went and solicited bids, but because of the length of the term contract and the current state of the market, we were able to secure a price for below what we were able to provide 2 years ago. So from a professional standpoint, I feel that it's a good idea that if budget certainty and budget security is one of your main focuses, that you should buy this commodity for the length of 48 months, secure that budget so that there's no volatility or risk moving forward, because it is my opinion that the fact that you're seeing pricing over the past 5 years be as high as 75 cents a unit or a therm, being able to secure 48.2 cents is pretty substantial certainty in the market. So like Dorothy said, the risk of buying a short-term contract and seeing what happens or rolling the dice in 2 years doesn't, the reward of maybe capturing a 5-cent reduction over that time period does not outweigh the risk of it going up 20 cents. So that's our recommendation. We were able to go out to about 11 different supply companies, it was a very competitive bidding process. It's an online live auction. If you think how eBay works, that's how our software platform works, but reverse. They bid lower and lower instead of higher and higher. And I think it's good if we, in 48 months or 36 months from now, I'm standing in front of you again, I think we'll do a look back and everybody will be very happy with what had happened in that commodity market, and hopefully we can either reduce the budget further next time around, or at least be able to maintain it now that we have it at an affordable price. Any questions?
Didn't you say, didn't somebody say last year was, the previous contract was 38 cents a therm?
48.6.
Okay.
48.6.
So we
and
went
this
down.
one's 48.2. So we actually got it a little bit cheaper. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I might have missed something, and I apologize if I wasn't listening closely. Are our boilers heated with gas?
That is correct. I believe so. Right?
Yes.
Well, that's a big savings.
Yes. That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. So the motion was on the floor. Is it seconded?
I second it.
Okay, so then we're ready to call for the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Mike? Hello? Michael? Michael, are you there? Okay, you may have lost him. So anyway, that being said, I'm sorry, show of hand or say aye. So it's unanimous. It's passed. Yeah, sorry. I did. So the next motion is to disconnect of the electricity and the AR recommendation. It's rather lengthy, so I'll ask the Secretary Justin Mack to read it again, and we'll have a little bit of
Make a
discussion
motion.
on it.
This microphone is working?
Yes.
No. Motion to establish administrative resolution number 45, which allows the association to establish a policy for the discontinuation of electrical services to units owned by unit owners delinquent in paying any portion of the common expenses, providing the following procedures is followed. A unit owner shall be deemed in full pursuant to this resolution by failing to render payment in full of any common expenses, assessment, charge fee, cost, fine, or other amount owed to the association within 30 days of the due date of such charges. Notice of discontinuance shall be deemed delivered upon mailing. The discontinuance of electrical service will be implemented between Monday and Thursday, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., and not on major holidays as listed in the notice. Restoration of electrical service will be restored within 5 business days upon receipt of all debts owed to the association. Any unit owners that provides the association with an application for a medical exemption that fully complies with the requirements of this section shall be exempt from the provisions of this resolution. The administrative resolution number 45 shall become effective on December 1st, 2017.
Is there a second? So a second. So we'll open for discussion. Does anybody have any comment? Answer? No?
Yes. I have a question. May I ask John Hayden?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is a very serious thing. It's a good practice to do. Because I remember years ago when we were supplying cable with Time Warner Cable, on Friday there would always be a line of people because they wanted their cable restored. And that's even more important. However, it says 30 days. Now, when exactly would that be due? Maintenance is due on the 1st of the month. You're considered late after the 10th of the month. Then we have the collection policy. There's a series of letters that go out. So when would this discontinuation notice be sent? So if you could fill us in with approximate date.
It would track exactly the way your collection policy works. Under your collection policy, after 30 days, rights are cut off with respect to use of the facilities and whatever. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen on the 30th day. On the 30th day, the notice goes out. So in addition to getting your late payment notice if you defaulted, or if you're in default after 30 days, you will get this electric cutoff notice as well.
So if it's due on the 1st of May, let's say, when would it be subject to being cut off? May 30th?
May 30th.
Now, the collection protocol, though, has a series of letters, letter A, letter B. What are the dates of those letters?
The cutoff of Galaxy services, other than electric, is effective 30 days after the date money is due.
Okay, well,
So
these
this will
collection letters that I know it's about, I don't know, I forget, 15 days after, I don't remember, but does this coincide with the collection letters we sent out?
It coincides with the policy. It runs parallel to the policy.
But I just one second, but I thought on that policy, I know we cut off services, but this is very drastic to cut off on the 30th.
Under the policy, at 30 days, we can start the collection process, legal collection process.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Justin.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe clarify, just like every other service that we have here, you can't go into the spa, you can't get your packages, you can't do any of the other services. Electric is a service, and it's not fair to the rest of the homeowners to pay for electric service for people that don't do it. I think this is probably the single greatest thing, if this gets passed today, while I'm on the board, to preserve the Galaxy going to the future, knowing the legal and financial mess that we were in just 3 or 4 years ago, from people not paying their maintenance and then everybody else paying their maintenance, and then they're just living here for free for a long time. time, really hurt the Galaxy. This will help the Galaxy in the future, and this is probably the single greatest thing will be on the board if this gets passed.
There's no disagreement there. I agree with you, and we've come a long way. However, you can't equate electricity service with spa services or package service. That's the only thing I'm saying we have to beware. Now, what happens in the winter months? Some people don't have.
They lose their power.
They lose their power.
It's just like any other service.
I understand it. All I'm making the point is you can't equate electricity service with spa privileges or package concierge service.
I completely agree, two completely different animals. I just want to make a point, this is a precedent-setting initiative for the condominium association. We want to, and it took team members and staff worked really hard on trying to put this together and trying to come up with a cohesive, enforceable AR amendment. So between the management and staff and the accounting facilities and legal counsel, John, thank you, and Steve at Greenbaum, Roman Smith. But this is very innovative and very out there for condominium associations in New Jersey. So I just wanted everyone to realize that we're not following what everyone else is doing. We're being assertive and aggressive, and we're trying to make sure that we can collect so that the majority is not continuing to be penalized for the minority of people who are not paying for their services. So if there's anything else that we haven't covered, otherwise, I'll call for the vote. So all those in favor?
Somebody seconded it already?
Yeah, it was moved and Megan seconded. So all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. So the next agenda, the next point on the agenda is the garage ADA compliant parking. Again, I'll ask Justin to read the.
I make a motion with authorization to relocate Galaxy Reserve parking throughout the Galaxy Garage in order to establish 24 ADA compliant parking spaces in the Galaxy Garage as follows. Place ADA parking of spaces closest to the building's entrances as required by federal regulation. Approximately 29 long-standing reserve spaces would be displaced to the other areas. Allocate reserve spaces on each garage level to provide a proportionate number of the 150 reserve spaces appointed to each floor of the garage based on the total number of available spaces on each floor. Assign reserve spaces to contiguous designated areas on each floor. Provide existing reserve space residents with choice of designated reserve spaces based on seniority and length of reserved parking term.
Is there a second? The motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Richard?
I see we spoke a little bit earlier about this new plan that management wants to allocate the parking spaces all in the same spot on the different floors. I don't think that that's fair, getting that, we got the package emailed around 5:30, we got to the boardroom around 7 o'clock. A week ago, we spoke about a different configuration. The other thing, this is a very big step. You're taking away parking spots. Some people have for 20 or 30 years. This reminds me, I'm equating the Galaxy with is this the Socialist Republic of the Galaxy? I mean, this is homeowners we're talking about, residents, our neighbors. This is just crazy. Have any of these plans been approved by the state or federal government? Does anybody know?
That would be a management question.
The plans, well, Doctor, you weren't involved from the beginning, but you're involved now. So we're supposed to be voting on something. We don't even know if it's going to be approved. And we're going to cause all this turmoil, having people change places. Some people are parked close by in reserved spots, and they do have a handicap. They have a handicap placard that they have on the car. Now, the other thing with this handicap, it's not reserved handicap. I was someplace, and and I believe I took a picture. I saw reserved sign and handicap. So in other words, somebody's gonna come home and because there's no assigned handicap parking, they're not gonna have a parking space. And they have to park in an area of the garage that they haven't been parking in for 20 or 30 years. I would feel comfortable if we got a certified consultant, or a consultant certified in parking. There are such people. Because we got a report from Frank, and I also read the rules, but there's always exceptions to rules. I would feel more comfortable, and I hope the board would too, getting a consultant, coming to the board and issuing a report. Now, that report also, the board has something to fall back on. So I would feel, more comfortable.
Okay, so-
I would hope the board
I'm
would.
sorry, Richard, my question is, are you amending the motion, or you're tabling it, or?
I'm talking about,
I'm just saying, the motion's on the table, so what are you
I
asking?
would like to postpone, I make a motion to postpone this until we've spoken more about it, until we can get a consultant. I think the board owes it to ourselves and to the homeowners.
Okay, I'm sorry, Justin, did you have something?
No, I was just curious if one of the parking spots that has to be moved, was that one of yours?
No.
I think it is.
Okay, to be totally, wait, yeah,
Maybe you should.
no, that doesn't matter. The way, that doesn't matter, the way I understand it, you need a certain amount.
Wait,
Excuse me, you need,
Question, Justin.
you need a certain, excuse me, I'm talking, you need a certain amount of space. That spot, wait a second, Justin, my spot is someplace else. Okay, that's my mother's spot.
Is it the law?
Wait,
Yes.
so wait, there's a motion on the floor.
That's my mother's spot.
And
We were talking yesterday.
there is, Richard's made a motion and it requires a second. Is there a second to postpone the vote? There isn't a second, so the motion to postpone that. If there's additional comment or new comment?
Yes, because Justin made a comment. I am not affected by this because I understand that the parking spot, we're talking about my mother's car, and she's disabled, she can hardly walk. I understand there's not enough room between the poles where she parks, so it wouldn't be affected, but I'm fighting for the other people who would be affected. I think there's ways around everything, whether it's a state or federal law. There's always exceptions that can be made.
I'm sorry.
And I resent what Justin said.
Well, according to the ADA compliance law, what we need to do, we need to have certain amount of, parking place close to the towers, to the entrance, and that is what we are doing. So we really don't need to bring an expert to tell us where it should be. We are trying to accommodate that and put it in the best possible place, and we have to follow that. We don't want any lawsuits, etc. I'm 100% for it. And there is not such a thing as a reserved handicap parking, because if we had a reserved handicap parking, then that is not any other handicaps can park there. So this is totally, I don't know how we came up with that concept, but this is not what we should.
Richard Basket.
I'm a former hospital administrator, so I'm trained in the American Disabilities Act. The issue is compliance. And unless we're under a direct action by the federal government, we can act according to the regulation in order to comply with the regulation. My understanding is this is a motion for compliance, which goes to the benefit of the galaxy. The logistics we can work out, the communication is going to have to be worked out, there are a lot more details. But to have a motion to comply with federal law, I think is totally reasonable.
Chuck?
And at this time, the Galaxy has at least one, if not two, ADA complaints, so we are being watched, and this is going to be checked on. So as soon as the restriping is done, we must be compliant with this. one way or another.
So I'm just gonna interject one thing, because it deals with the timing of this. While it may seem, there's never a good time to deal with this, because it will affect quite a few owners, and many of them are long-standing here. But the timing has to do with resurfacing the garage, and when that's done and the striping is done, we will have to become compliant at that time. Otherwise, it's gonna show, it'll send the wrong message that we went ahead and proceeded to resurface and restripe without addressing the issues that have been brought to our attention already.
I think we owe it to the board members as a fiduciary responsibility, owe it to ourselves, not just what we read or what we hear. We owe it to the homeowners also to make sure that, you know, there's a lot of laws, but there's a lot of exceptions. And then we're just gonna rip away from 22 people, and some of them have been here 20 and 30 years, their parking spot. I don't think it's fair.
Okay. I'm sorry, Richard Nestor is first.
I don't think this motion obviates communication with owners. I don't think it obviates feedback from owners. I don't think it obviates discussing the logistics and modifying the logistics. This is a motion to comply with ADA, and in that regard, I think it's totally reasonable.
I'm sorry, Justin, and then I'm going to ask, I'm sorry, Justin, after you, I'm going to ask Frank to speak because he was involved.
I really don't want the homeowners to think that we're taking away reserved parking spots. We're not taking away anybody's spot. Everybody, you want a reserved spot, you put your name on the list, you get to that spot, you get a reserved parking spot. What we're trying to do is make it accessible for handicapped people to park easily in the garage. And at the same time, we have to move some reserved parking spots. We might as well clean up the garage, make it a successful work. I mean, you're driving around the garage, I don't know where you've been living for 20 years, but the garage is a mess. And we're looking to fix it, and this is part of fixing it. We're just trying to help the community. We're not trying to rip out anybody's long-standing parking spots, and this motion actually says the longer you were at that parking spot, you got the first crack at moving it to anywhere that you want that's going to be a designated parking spot. So we're not trying to hurt anybody. You're making it sound like we're trying to hurt homeowners, and that's wrong. That's very wrong, Rich.
I'm sorry.
I
still
think we owe it to ourselves and the homeowners to at least get a consultant and a piece of
In a
paper.
second, if we may, the vote is to be called. I just, then we can discuss it, but the question's been called and seconded. So, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All those opposed? One opposed? No abstentions? So the resolution is passed. This resolution has to do with coming into compliance. It's not specifically tied to the layout, and that I definitely think that we will get other input on before we finalize that and let other people have some conversation about it. But this specifically addresses bringing us into compliance with what we have to do for ADA compliance. Frank, did you have anything that you didn't?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think it's all been said, but the ADA laws are very academic and very simple to understand. You're required to have 22 parking spots minimum that are ADA compliant. They have to be a certain size, and they can absolutely not be assigned to any individual. They must be open spots, and they must be near your doors. So most of those spots are taken up now by reserved spots. So unfortunately, they have to be moved. And the question to you, the board, is how do you want to deal with the reallocation? But it does have to be done. There's no getting around this law, and we shouldn't try to get around it. We should comply with it, and I believe you're doing the right thing.
Great.
That's really all I have.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the next agenda, the next item on the agenda, which is Galaxy Lifestyles. And then Justin, if you would read that.
I make a motion to reestablish the Galaxy Lifestyles Committee and Magazine with an appointment of Kathy Mobley as the chairperson. There shall be no printing done without board approval of a business plan prior to any printing.
I'm sorry, that's any cost incurred prior to
Any, right, when I say printing, I mean any cost. There shall be no cost incurred until full board approval of a business plan.
I second.
The motion's made in second. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir.
we went down this path once before, but with the Galaxy Lifestyle magazine. But it would make more sense if the person, in this case you're proposing Kathy Mobley, to come to the board first, present the plan, and then see if it's viable, rather than appointing her. This was a money-losing proposition from 2005 through 2008, 5 years, because of what it was in the open minutes. 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay,
4
I'm
years.
sorry. Can you do this one at a time and address it up with Justin? I'm sorry.
2005, 6, 7, and 8, 4 years.
Okay.
And this was, excuse me, this was in June 4th, 2009, open session. So before the Galaxy Lifestyle was shut down, the Galaxy lost on this $39,917. Now, there are former directors who are willing to come to the board and explain some of the things that happened then and went wrong. And I think the board should avail themselves of that information. One of these people specifically was Gail Hoffman. She was the secretary at the time. So I just think, why would the board be stepping on the same rate again? You know, magazines are going out of business these days. It just doesn't make sense. It was a miserable failure and closed down last time. And I'd like to know before it's approved, with the same chair, by the way, I'd like to hear the business plan. So I would like to be a working session and we do work these things out.
I made a motion.
I'm sorry. Yes, you can. I'm sorry, Justin, Joe raised his hand first. Justin, you definitely are next.
I just think we have, there's a potential group of homeowners that want to participate and try to bring something back to the Galaxy. I agree that we need a business plan, we need to understand it, and apparently, I think this board has proven that we have some strong financial people here that hold people accountable, and we would do that the same with the committee as we've done with our budgets. And I'd like to hear what they have to say. I don't know whether it would be a print, it could be PDF as well, so it could be a website. There's a lot of different things that I'd be interested in talking to members of the community that are interested in this, to try to enhance the value and get some visibility and marketing out there for the Galaxy. And, I trust people on this board that they're gonna hold them accountable the same way we've held management accountable and other committees and everything else that's going on.
I agree. Just in 1 second, so I was trying to get in.
Basically, lack of communication is always a problem. So I support any kind of communication between the homeowners board and homeowners. And I believe if the board at that time, they couldn't hold the committee responsible, couldn't ask for the business plan, and the committee was not successful. I haven't been there, I don't know, but even if that is the case, it doesn't mean that we can learn from the past and make sure that this time is going to be, they're going to be successful, they're going to come up with a business plan, and we work with them to get it done in a right way. I 100% support that.
Justin?
I really feel strongly about getting communication to people, and I echo what Zoila was saying about communication. Communication is key in any business, in any lifestyle, in any family. You need to communicate. In 2008, I guess when they stopped the Galaxy Lifestyles magazine, there was a lot of stopping in communications. What happened after 2008, the mall failing, basically after 2008, it started to fail. And with the Galaxy Lifestyles magazine at the time, AR, basically says, for us to be successful as a Galaxy, we need the mall to be successful. And the mall in this AR basically has first crack at any advertisements. The mall is dying, if anybody hasn't realized. We need to help the mall, and this will help the mall. Without the mall being a successful entity, the Galaxy won't be a successful entity. If the property values rise in the mall, the property values rise in the Galaxy. This is not going to cost the Galaxy anything. The advertisements will pay for the whole thing. I heard what you said about 2005 to 2008. I'd like to go over the minutes from it. I'd like to see who voted for it to go down. I bet you I could tell you who it was already. So thank you.
Okay, wait, Richard Vasquez, he hasn't had a chance to address this yet.
Okay, this is a business decision. So if I were making a business decision before we apply leadership, before we say who's going to be on the committee, we better know whether or not this concept is effective. The problem is that who is our audience and what is the vehicle to communicate? The reason why I say that is because if our the younger demographic doesn't read magazines, and most newspapers and magazines are pulling back from written material and going to the internet-based method. The older generation that would use it is limited because the other thing is, who are we targeting? Are we targeting owners? We have over 30, what's the number, 38% renters now? 42% renters now. So if we're talking about targeting the owners, almost half of the owners don't even live in the Galaxy. So before we get to this effort, I think the business plan should come first and bring the people, and it shouldn't be with people that have been, not only with people that are interested, that we know about. We should open this up to the entire ownership and maybe get people who know about more modern media presentations and how it could be more effective instead of, just limiting it to a few people. Thank you.
Okay.
Justin, you made a statement before, but in case you haven't noticed, the mall is half empty and dead right now. So who is going to advertise right now?
I'm sorry,
So it starts off right away.
We're going to give everyone a final chance to address. We're going to give everyone one more chance to address, and then we're going to take a vote.
Going back to the audience and the format of this newspaper, I think we should form the committee, establish the committee, and then that is something that we can discuss later, whether we want it in a form of newspaper or we want it online, etc. But the concept of communicating with people, the concept that we have got so many professionals that they step up and they want to have this newspaper, that is something that I think we should approve.
Okay. Yes, Michelle.
I also think some younger people with talent that I know have expressed interest in being in this, and I think it would be decent, if we can get them, we can start maybe getting some social media out there for our outlets so younger people could see it. You can email PDF files out to people. You may want to see how the printing goes. And I think it's pretty scary when board members are basically saying the mall is dead, so who's going to do anything? If that's your attitude, but if that's your attitude, this is at least a little extension to try to save them, because if you don't realize when people come here and it looks like an abandoned mall, and now all along River Road you have CVS's, you have fast food places, you have in the 80s maybe it was very convenient to have a mall. Now it's a necessity to have these assets. And if the board isn't going to try and at least do things to help this mall, we have a lot bigger problems than I thought.
Richard Vasquez. I'm sorry, we're going to go around one more time. We're going to give one more chance.
Okay, 2 points. One is nationally, mall traffic is going down because of internet-based purchasing. And we have to reevaluate the assumptions, the business assumptions associated with the mall that were created in the 1970s and 80s, because there's been a complete juxtaposition of those assumptions. And we have to look at what are the forces driving mall participation now. And it's not going to be retail business. It's going to be single-use participants that are very large. Whether it's a medical mall, a school, this is really what we have to rethink. Secondly, I support the notion of a committee. I support anything that's going to get owners involved, I support. I'm just saying, what is the logistics here that'll be most effective for us, most effective for the owners? And I agree with Joe that we have to open our hearts and souls to the younger people. I mean, I'm getting old. I'm 65 this year. I mean, and a lot of us who have been here many years are getting older. We have to hand over the future to the younger people, and they do not read magazines. So if you're going to talk about a leadership of this for a committee like this, we should go out and try to recruit newer people that have an interest and have those skill sets. So I can take so much time.
Justin?
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate, when I brought this up to the board, I basically was asking the board just to put a chair inside a committee that's been defunct for a long time. The AR is there. All we need to do is start the engine, and by doing that is by appointing someone that's willing, even after being thrown out of it, something that she loved doing. You can see the magazines, this woman loved to do it. Because the business model didn't work, we're responsible for all that. So whoever was on the board in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, that ran up a $30,000 bill on the Lifestyles magazine, they're the ones at fault. The committee's not responsible for anything. Everybody sitting at this table is responsible for it. And part of the responsibility, we have an AR that's sitting there, we have a woman that wants to do it, and then we can also, this is just the beginning of, I want to market the place. Once we finish the hallways, once we finish fixing up the front of the building, we have to show people in Manhattan what we have on this side. They're sitting in Manhattan, they're looking at us. We're sitting over here looking at Manhattan. We got the right location. We just have to show them that. But we have to fix the place first.
I agree. Richie, did you have anything else? Shayla?
Just one other thing, Justin said he would like to know who voted to close down the publication. That was in 2009, June of 2009. The amount was even higher if you included some of 2009, but it was a unanimous vote. I can read you the names. It was across all spectrums, so it was unanimous to close it down.
Okay, I'm sorry, Justin. One more time around. So basically, we're trying to report.
Who voted? Okay. Amsalag, I forgot what the first name was, Franco Longo, Judith Courtney,
I'm sorry,
Jonathan.
I will interrupt this. I don't think this is relevant. It's a password. It's a password. The question's been called. Is there a second?
It's okay.
Is there a second? The question was called. I second. The question's been called and seconded. So all those in favor of approving, raise your hand and say aye. All those opposed? Opposed, the motion carried. So it's Del Puente, Culver, Matt, Purcell, Miller, and Vasquez.
Okay, thank you.
So the next order of business is the pool furniture. Justin, would you read the motion?
I make a motion to award a contract to Horizon Casual of Ocala, Florida for the purchase of new outdoor pool furniture to include 100 lounge chairs, 20 dining chairs, and 5 tables in the amount of $31,611.25.
Is there a second? Richie, seconds. Is there discussion?
I don't know what the rush is to replace it. Yes, some of the current lounge furniture is beat up, but this was put in front of us about a month ago. I don't know where the proposal came from. Then I brought up, I think it was a working session, well, we don't even know what we're voting on. We were voting on a picture. So then some of us agreed to get samples. That's why you see samples in the spa downstairs by the indoor pool. I sat on them. I don't know, this is a big decision. I thought some of them, one or two were not comfortable at all. I think this needs more work and consideration. We're not going to get it for the opening of the pool season. I think we have to examine this more, and we waited so long, let's wait a little bit longer. So I make a motion to postpone this.
Okay, the motion's been made to postpone. Is there a second? And there's no second, so, any further discussion?
I'd like to ask management, does it matter which one of those, they're all the same price?
So we've got 3 bid proposals, and this was the lowest one, but the samples that you actually are able to see downstairs are based upon what was previously discussed, and
I think the question was, Dorothy, I'm sorry, and you'll clarify if I'm incorrect, but the question is, there are 3 different qualities down there and 3 different representations of furniture. Is this price based on any one of those selections, or is this tied to a particular choice and combination?
They're all the same?
yeah, they're all the same.
Okay, that was the question.
Is there a glass top missing? Because I was told that they had glass tops.
No.
I believe it's a plexi tap.
Right.
One has a cover top that's identical to the base. The other one has a plexi top, but they wouldn't have glass top.
Well, that's what the first pictures show us were glass tops.
No, it's a tempered.
A tempered glass,
It's not-
that's not gonna be around the pool, no
Right,
glass. Right, okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, all the prices are based upon the same product.
Thank you.
Well, number one, it is going to be around the pool, so some of the tables are put against the wall, but in the pool area. But we don't know what color we're voting on. You know, we shouldn't always be going for the lowest price. This has to last a while. It's owner's comfort. I think we should hear from owners, number one. Number two, we should research it a little more. So what if we spend I don't like to spend money, but if we had to spend $5,000 more, maybe we get something more comfortable. I don't think that we did our due diligence as yet.
I believe this recommendation came to the board from the SPA committee, and was spoken about at their meetings, and also discussed with the SPA manager and management before it came to us for some recommendations to narrow down. I guess tonight, we're not necessarily, the motion does not specify what color or what fabric. It specifies that we're approving to replace the pool furniture at a cost that will not exceed $31,611.25. So that's my understanding. If I'm wrong, someone please clarify, but.
May I? But not only voting on it in public, I think owners have a right to know what we're voting on. So if someone could tell me what we're voting on, maybe it would be a little more helpful. I looked at it, I sat on it, one I thought was terribly uncomfortable, very odd. I just think we owe it to ourselves and the owners to research it a little more, and then get input from the SPA committee. But we don't have to always buy the least expensive. Maybe it'll give us some more comfort, maybe.
I'd like to.
Wait, I'm sorry. Dorothy? Yes.
Yes. But all the 3 prices, all the bids were the same. It's the same equipment. We just received 3 different prices from different suppliers. So even though we're going for the lowest price, but it's the same type of furniture that we would be giving for all 3 bidders. There's no difference.
I'm sorry. Justin's next.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something really quickly. I see absolutely nothing wrong with before the final decision, before we actually make the purchase, of having a final presentation down the SPA for anyone to come and look at of what that represents as far as the purchase. Just to get anyone's input, I'm around all the time. The SPA committee is a functioning committee. You can submit anything that you have to say about that furniture. But today is just whether we're going to spend money on this furniture.
I just wanted to say, I had an opportunity to go downstairs and sit on the lounge chair before the meeting. And the last lounge chair, which is the gray and the blue, is the exact same lounge chairs that are lined the Norwegian breakaway across the street. And I've been on the boat 4 times. They're unbelievable chairs. They're very weathered. They stay outside on a ship crossing the Atlantic Ocean. They seem very high quality, and they do seem pretty comfortable. I don't know which chairs you sat on.
Okay.
Sat on all of them, but like I said before, we have to vote when it involves money. But I think we owe it to owners so they know what we're voting on. And I don't think any of us here know what we're voting on.
Everyone, one more chance. Any other I'm sorry, in favor? Raise your hand and say aye. Opposed? Mr. Miller, abstentions? 2 abstentions. So,
Motion carries.
So the motion carries. There's no other business unless someone else has something that I'm not aware of that's not on the agenda. So the next order of business is for a motion to adjourn.
Can I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
It's seconded by Richard Vasquez. All those opposed, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. The motion carries.